Welcome, everybody, to today's episode of The Neighborhood Watch.
Yes.
Featuring your hosts, Dr. K and
Peter.
Peter, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Dr. K?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I'm super stoked that we're here to talk about one of the Hollywood heavyweights.
Man.
One of our heroes, Stuart Gordon.
Definitely. And it's about time we got to this guy because we've mentioned his movies, I think, in every episode, too, so far.
That's right. We have.
And
absolutely. How can you not when you're responsible for the Reanimator trilogy?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Arguably, very arguably, one of the greatest horror movies ever made.
Yeah.
Ever made. It has to be at the absolute top.
It definitely, it sent all the MPAA people running for the hills.
Oh my goodness!
That was
goodness,
the thing that kicked the doors down and was like,
it
okay,
really did.
Horror movies now are going to be like this.
That's right. That's right. It's not just a zombie movie. It's a bunch of naked zombies.
Right. Disturbingly naked.
Disturbingly blue and naked in all of their glory.
Almost like the nude beach here near Portland, Oregon, right?
Yes.
It's like it sounds
weirdly similar, actually.
Right.
Wait, those are nude hippies
or nude homeless people.
Yeah.
Either way, you think nude beach and you're like, all right, and then no, it's like Reanimator.
Well, that's just disturbing.
Yeah,
which makes Reanimator all the more better, right?
Exactly. Just works on so many levels.
Yes. So this is part one of our Stuart Gordon series, which will probably end up running 3 or 4 episodes, depending on if we want to dedicate a 1 or 2 part to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Right. Which, that's why everybody's here. They want to listen to that stuff.
But for today, we're going to do, Peter and I have done our homework this last 2 weeks, and we watched last night, which is what we will start with, his epic From Beyond. And then we watched Dagon earlier in the week. And just last week, or not even barely a week ago, we watched Dreams in the Witch House, which is fantastic. Yeah. And for any of those of you out there that are not familiar with Dreams of the Witch House, that was from the first season of Masters of Horror, and is a must see. Fantastic. If you love all things Stuart Gordon, or not, you just love horror movies. Great episode. Great episode. And
yeah, that series, that series you kind of, well, no, that's not true. I did watch that episode years ago, but I had not seen a lot of the other episodes. However, you have seen almost all of them, though.
Yeah.
And so you've really helped me to that jive.
Well, thank you for the props. For people, if you're not familiar, the Masters of Horror series really was an expose in let's get all of the best directors,
incredible lineup,
and just let them do whatever they wanted to do. It was really no holds barred. Showtime really had their shit together those 2 years that they were putting that show out.
Because you had everybody. You had John Carpenter,
name it, Dario Argento,
Coscarelli.
Yes. What's his name?
John Landis.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was thinking of. Landis. Yep. Toby Hooper. It was everybody. It was really Wes Craven. Everybody was there.
And they all did great stuff.
And they all did awesome stuff. So this is a perfect segue to my notes. Peter, do you remember when we were young men 100 years ago?
Yes.
The first movie that we watched together, because we actually didn't meet until we were in our prime. We weren't younglings together, but we were in our prime when we met. Do you remember the first movie that we ever met that first summer when you moved across the street?
Right. And so I do remember now because we were just talking about it. But
because we cheated.
We cheated. But I didn't remember at first. I remembered just a short little tangent here because I think some people would like to see this movie. But the first movie that we ever really even talked about.
Yes.
Like we both were like, oh yeah, I like movies too. Yeah. And then for some reason we were talking about just bizarre, strange movies. I think maybe we were trying to like test each other's knowledge.
Totally, we were. Absolutely, we were. And, it was a feeling out process.
Right. And so one of us mentioned, oh yeah, this this movie that was shot in Disneyland.
Yes.
like illegally, and it's all black and white.
Yes.
And I was like, I've been wanting to see that. And then Dr. K was like, I have it, and you can borrow it. And it's really, that's a good. So what is it called though? It's something.
Escape from Tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Escape from Tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a bizarre, strange, kind of a little David Lynch flavor.
Oh man. Yes.
Film noir.
Yes, absolutely, film noir. Yeah.
But all shot in Disneyland without Disney's permission.
Right. Yes.
It's incredible.
Kind of brilliant.
Yeah.
The fact that movie got made just it breaks all the rules, right? And it's very surreal kind of movie.
Yeah.
You're kind of not really sure
What's
happening is what you're seeing.
Yeah.
You're always kind of second guessing, and that's part of what made that movie so good. I think.
I think so too.
You're always kind of like, this is just.
Yeah.
Weird. And and having grown up in California, right? I grew up 2 hours away from Disneyland. So we went there a good number of times when I was a kid. I was like, how is this possible, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no way that you could make a back lot that is Disneyland. I mean, it's impossible. Nobody could do it.
Yeah.
So it's obviously being shot at Disneyland, and there's no way they would have greenlit this thing. No. And I mean and I'm sure you'll agree with this. When you watch the documentary, which is on the disc about how the movie is made,
that's almost as good as
almost as good. Yeah, the fact that it got made, you're like, holy crap. Yeah.
And probably
it's
never.
So cool.
It's one of those things where it's just like it was made and probably will never. Nobody will ever have a chance like that again.
Because the Disney Secret Service had to up their game after that, right?
Yep.
I'm sure that they were like, "Holy shit!" Right? This movie should not have happened.
Yeah.
But it did, and it's because the filmmakers were they really had a fantastic idea.
Let's try.
They cashed in on that whole. Like they're saying, it's like Disneyland. Not only encourages, but they expect people to bring video cameras and regular cameras and to be having their little, your family experience and everything. But these filmmakers were kind of like, we'll do that.
Yeah, we're just a family. We just keep coming back here every day for 3 weeks.
Yeah,
it worked.
So good. So anyway, people see Escape from Tomorrow.
Watch it.
It's good. Yeah.
I mean, it's don't watch it like it's not a family movie.
No, absolutely not. No,
but
it's our rating is or NR or whatever it is well deserved. Yeah.
Right, and not really for any like nudity or swearing or sex or anything, just for disturbingness. I think. Yeah. So it's
like you said, it's Lynchian. It's very Dave Lynchian. In its presentation, and it's disturbing in a very beautifully Dave Lynch kind of way.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But so the movie though that we did end up watching, was one of the episodes from Masters of Horror.
That's right,
directed by Dario Argento,
the master.
And that episode was called Pelts. Yeah.
Yes.
With Meatloaf.
I would argue it's my single favorite episode from. All of and this I don't say that lightly because I think Masters of Horror is really a showcase of like what directors can do, but I think that Argento, who already the guy needs no introduction, right?
No.
Name it.
Another like just I mean he is a classic.
He's a legend. And particularly for the fact that he did so much just over-the-top greatness in Italy, right? Not even Hollywood.
Yeah.
But you watch his old 70s Suspiria. I mean, that's the one that you and I always talk about. But it's one after another, and color. I think that's got to be the thing. He has to be one of the things he's best known for. Is his color saturations are just unparalleled.
Yeah. Really, this a master.
And using color to set mood so much as not just lighting, but
And he's one of those guys. When I first heard about him, I think it was through it was somebody like Quentin Tarantino or Wes Anderson or something that was mentioning him. Yep. He's one of those great horror directors that like just directors in general admire because the guy just can handle composition and color and storytelling just amazingly. So
yeah, and stylistic too. Like you don't. It's one of those like Tarantino. You could drop somebody into the movie in the middle and be like, whose movie is this? And it's immediately apparent.
It's like,
okay. That's got to be our
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gratuitous naked people. Argento.
Oh man. You have to. I'm not gonna give too much away here if you haven't seen Pelts, but
yes,
Meatloaf.
Brilliant.
And the episode is called Pelts.
Yes.
That's all I'll say.
That's all you need. That's all you need, people. It's Meatloaf.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you loved him in Rocky Horror Picture Show or our Pick of Destiny, right?
Yeah.
He's done some really cool stuff. He's not probably
Fight Club.
Oh, Fight Club. Yeah. What was the one with Patrick Swayze?
Oh man.
He's in Roadhouse.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was Roadhouse.
Was it
some
Roadhouse?
Patrick Swayze movie?
Or was it Steel Dawn?
It was one of those.
Okay.
Yes. But anyway,
we should before we continue. I want to. Speaking of Patrick Swayze,
yes,
because we were talking about him the other day.
Yes.
And we were saying how him and Mel Gibson created the mullet. I think like those guys.
That's right.
Maybe they don't get official credit for the creation of the mullet, but if you think about it, just go back in your mind and think about it.
That's right.
There's nobody that had the level of mullet,
the
luxuriant.
Yes. So who be to blame for our mullet problems? Without a doubt, yes, it's equal parts Patrick Swayze and Mel Gibson.
Yep.
And we were joking, right? Mel Gibson had the Lion-O mullet. It was kind of flared, and
it was like he had the mullet that few people can pull off. You know?
Totally.
That was like the gold standard of mullets.
The comb over bangs.
Yeah.
And the Lion-O.
And
thing.
Man, I wish my hair could grow like that kind of mullet.
That's right.
But most of us that tried to grow a mullet, it was more like the Patrick Swayze one, where it was just kind of straight.
Kind of straight. Yep. Kind of straight, kind of oily.
Yep.
But the thing is, even in Point Break, he's got a mullet in Point Break. He still does it good. He does it better than every kid that you ever saw in high school.
I mean, I would
any school.
Totally. I would argue this is one of those weird things about hair, right? Where I would argue that Mel Gibson, both him and Patrick Swayze, once they got rid of their mullets, something was missing,
right? Samson complex.
You felt like, I remember what was it? There was it must have been one of the Lethal Weapons where he finally cut his mullet.
Oh, right.
And I was just thinking man, what is it?
Something's wrong.
Did he go through some surgery or something?
Yeah. Yep.
No, he just got a few inches cut off of his hair. But he lost so much presence,
Yeah, yep.
So much of that screen.
Yep. That's probably why he did Braveheart. Mm-hmm. Because then he was I'm just going to have long hair now. Forget the mullet. Just long. It'll just be rock and roll.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm going to go with the Aussie look.
Amazing. I forgot what this episode is about now, Dr.
Oh,
K.
yeah. Sorry. So we will get to From Beyond here in a second, Stuart Gordon. But back to Pelts, just to wrap up Pelts. Check out Pelts.
It actually makes sense.
It's utterly worth it. Yeah.
We're talking about mullets, and the episode is Pelts.
That's right. That's right. And even to draw comparisons with between Argento's Pelts and we should do that when we get to the last of our discussion with Dreams in the Witch House, because those were both out of the same first season. I think those are both first season.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Masters of Horror. Mm-hmm. But both, and there's definitely a parallel to be made as far as extreme. Mm-hmm. You hate to, that's such a flimsy word, having grown up in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Like
extreme,
it's extreme, man. Yeah. But really, Argento and Gordon are at the absolute top. They're up there with Tobe Hooper as the other. We could make a trifecta there, right?
Oh yeah.
Guys who just take it to
the limit.
How far can it go? Mm-hmm. And this will get us to From Beyond, because the makeup in From Beyond is there's few comparisons can be made.
Well, and it's great that one of my good friends, we mentioned that we were going to do From Beyond, and he said it's the perfect follow up for The Thing, for John Carpenter's The Thing, which we had just done. Last episode. Yep. And it's so true. I was sitting there watching it the other night, and I was thinking, man, it is such a. I mean, it does harken back to The Thing,
right?
With the level of just weird, slimy, tendrily tentacle creatures.
Yes.
That just look freaking incredible.
And the total asymmetry about the monsters, right? The monsters are just...
You just got like a head coming out of one side and then like two legs over there, and they're kind of leaning over, and like things are whipping around up there.
Oh,
and like,
man. And monsters coming out of monsters, too. I mean, that scene when our good guy is in the monster, has been eaten by the monster, and comes out of the monster.
Mr. Jeffrey Coombs.
Right?
Oh. Coombs? I don't know.
Coombs.
Yeah,
I think it's Coombs.
Yeah. Let's go with Coombs.
But yeah, when Jeffrey Coombs has been eaten by the monster and then comes out of the monster.
It's so great.
That's all man, we can do it no justice.
I think we watched that scene a couple times, because we watched it in the movie, and then we watched a little making of thing.
Yes.
And both times you were on the floor laughing your ass off, and I was too. But it's just so over the top, and it's so
the execution.
Great. Yeah.
Yep.
It's so great. Like that's the thing. You're probably like us, listener, where you're watching a movie like this, and the grosser it gets, the weirder it gets. The more you laugh, the more you just enjoy it, you know.
It's like the Three Stooges in a way, and I know that women can't. They just have a really hard time with the Three Stooges.
Yeah, that's true. Except for Rene Russo in Lethal Weapon 3. Go back to Mel Gibson. Remember?
Yes.
That was the thing that they shared was Three Stooges.
That's right.
But
that's right.
She wasn't real.
So people who don't like the Three Stooges, I'm not just picking on ladies, but the Three Stooges did have an actual credibility and brilliance, and it was in timing, right? Their timing was absolutely impeccable, and that's where, from beyond the scene we're talking about, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
The setup, and like, it's like this is happening, this happens, this happens, this happens, to where you get to the point where there are fingers coming out of the monster's mouth, and then Jeffrey Coombs crawls out of his mouth
and just was like like a baby eagle or something, like just covered with slime and like,
And then when it falls over and collapses on itself, and it's just a bunch of arms and legs.
I know, I
sticking
love that,
out.
and it's all like twitching and stuff, and it's just. Oh man, I mean think about it, like this. When you're watching this happen, this is like, if you're really, I'm not, neither one of us are like this, but maybe some of you are. It's okay. If you really like fish, right? And you're watching fish play for like 3 hours.
Yes.
And you're just loving it. You're just like, you're just like in outer space. That's what it's like when From Beyond. It's like this amazing guitar solo that just keeps going on, and it gets louder and louder and louder, and more stuff is happening. Yeah. And you're just like, surely there can't be anything else, and then they just throw 10 more amazing things on top, and you're just overloaded with just this puke-tasticness.
Yes.
Like in the good sense of puke-tastic.
That's right.
So good, man.
Oh, it is.
And I love so From Beyond, 1986.
86, yep.
Okay. Right after Reanimator.
It was on the heels of Reanimator. And is the one the special effects guy said. He's like, whereas we made Reanimator with a nickel and an hour, we had 10 cents in 2 hours to make.
And it shows.
It does.
Yeah. They're able to do much more crazy things besides naked zombie people. But But hey, come on. I won't sell Reanimator short, because there's some amazing things they did in that.
I think and the brilliance of Reanimator too, and when we watch the making of, you hear the special effects guys all kind of say this. They're like, part of what made Reanimator so good is when you're up against the gun and you have no money, your true talent shines. Right? You have to. It's like, it's do or die.
Just make it work.
Just like in all art, sometimes the pressure of not being enabled, right? In this case, with money or time or anything, you can really squeeze the good juices out of something, and that's Reanimator. To its fullest, right? Like we're gonna do it, and it's gonna get done, and holy crap, what you end up with, you're like. You can't believe it. It's almost like if they would have had millions more, it may not even have been as good.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, because they were just. It's like we were talking about. It's the same thing with Evil Dead 2, right? It's
totally. Oh,
it's
man.
like
Perfect.
They just
That's probably the best example.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just they.
Yep.
You go. You're most creative because you're
That's
like,
right.
we have no money, we have no time, we got to get this done.
Yep. Don't mind if we can see the huge tear in Ted Raimi's suit when he's hanging from the ceiling. Just put it in there. Fuck it.
Yep. So yeah, that was Reanimator. So and so From Beyond, I mean, it's that's where it's a great title because that's really where they go out to outer space with all that stuff.
Man. Totally do, right?
And instead of headless corpses, which they do have some of those too. Yeah. But then they have these floating piranha eel things going through the air, and I mean, it's a great use of practical effects and animation, and and we had a pretty good conversation about practical effects actually when we were watching it. Remember?
Yes.
And the reason I remember this is because I said it, and then you said we have to record that.
Yes.
Remember?
Right. Yep. Totally.
But I think our point was when we were watching it was, it's the classic thing, why do we like practical effects? Yeah. And it's like, we had this whole thing. So before it used to be animation. Yep. People would use animation, like 2D animation, to do things that they couldn't do.
Correct.
Basically,
so,
right?
and one of the things probably that's the easiest to remember was anytime you needed things like lightning or an electrical effect, right? It was really easy because it was convincing for you to animate just animated element of lightning on things. So think People Highlander, right? I mean, that's the one that we joked about then too. It's like, there's just all this crap.
I know everything. I am everything. Yeah, that old scene.
That was really what you had to do pre-CG animation. But to your point, it's like if you couldn't physically do it, that was the fallback, right?
Then you would use animation.
Yeah.
Where now it's gotten to the point now where we use 2D animation turned into CG and 3D animation, all that. Now we use CG for things that we can do.
That's right.
And
which is a huge mistake.
Yeah.
It's a huge mistake. Yeah.
So I don't know. So the comparison I made, this is where I was so brilliant.
Yep.
I think
yes.
was where we said, okay, Jim Henson. Yep. This is what it is. If you like the Muppets and Jim Henson, or you like cartoons, they're both great, right? But the Muppet, we know that Kermit the Frog is not real. We know he's not a frog, but he has some kind of life to him because he's there. He's sharing the air with us. We can see him move around. We can see him interact with people.
That's right.
There's some kind of life there because he's sharing the reality with us.
Yep.
Whereas the cartoon, it also has a life. I mean, I love animation.
Yep. Me too. Yep.
But it's a separate reality. We're not sharing that reality.
That's right. When Bob Hoskins is talking to Jessica Rabbit,
nobody
is under the impression that Bob Hoskins and Jessica Rabbit are sharing the same space.
Yeah, right.
Not for 1 second, not ever, and that wasn't the point. Right. But it's at the absolute heart of what you're getting at. When you have a practical effect, you aren't trying to fool people into thinking that thing is real. That it's what you're portraying it as. Right. Be that Kermit the Frog or be it a giant monstrous gut thing. Right. That's not the point. The point is that when you check into the movie, you allow yourself the suspension of
disbelief.
Disbelief, right? And that's where I think we always rage on CG, right? Is that it's such a crutch now for studios that they don't even want to. It's not about the suspension of disbelief anymore. It's about just making things for the sake of making things animated.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck that.
Right, and that's the thing is I think we all have this thing, this unconscious thing that we. So when we're watching the weird tentacle bug head thing and From Beyond, right? And it's moving around all weird and kind of awkwardly.
Yes.
we're thinking in our heads, maybe subconsciously, maybe consciously, but we're thinking like, well, maybe it really would move like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. The pineal gland,
right.
getting into that.
Yeah,
right?
maybe the pineal. Oh my God, the pineal gland. We got to go back and count how many times they say pineal gland in that movie, because it's great every single time.
Because they have to sell you on it, right?
Yeah,
like, it's
like,
really
it's a real thing. Yeah,
it is.
But yeah, we do that thing where it's like we give it leeway because we know, like, hey, somebody actually made this. We give it leeway in our heads when we're doing our suspension of disbelief thing.
That's right.
Maybe it actually would move like that.
That's right.
But then when
Ask
you see
yourself,
the CG
how many
thing,
times, you've watched Muppets and you don't the two wires that they prop their hands up with,
like,
you just forget about that.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter.
Well, maybe they need those wires. You know, like there's nobody down there moving it. Like,
right.
Yeah. But then the opposite happens when we watch CG.
Yeah.
We don't give it any leeway.
That's right.
We're looking at that and we're like,
antagonistic.
you better be fucking perfect.
Right.
And when it's not, we're like, I can see through it. I can tell it's not real. You didn't trick me.
Right. Yeah.
And where it's the practical one, we're like, trick me. Come on, trick me. Hey, you're tricking me. You're doing it.
Right.
It's like we're talking to a 7-year-old, you know.
Right.
And then the CG one is like somebody that's older than us. We're like,
right. You're like, piss off.
I can see through your shit, CG.
Yeah.
You're my
Oh man, it's so good.
You're my school principal.
It's so good, right?
Yeah.
Oh man,
That's what's happening.
Oh,
So
it totally is.
yeah.
And I think there's a certain gratuitous aspect too about practical effects. I mean, I know I'm guilty of this, but and even when I was a kid, man, out of all my friends, I was the one like so. You know, when you're a kid, and we talked about this, we actually recorded an episode a couple of weeks ago, people, that you'll hear in a couple months from now. But
Spoiler alert.
Our guest star on there was a friend of mine that I grew up with named Evan, and he made a really good point that as a kid, horror movies did really scare him. Even if it's not that whole that you're believing what you're seeing, but it gets your mind going, right? And you start thinking about other things, and then you know, if it creeped you out in a certain way, then in reality you can get creeped out in a certain way.
Yeah.
Which we've got to talk about the Shining thing with you and your wife, because that's a perfect example of letting yourself get creeped out. And it's not. The movie isn't making you freak out, but it's getting you in that mindset, right? It's taking you on the roller coaster ride. And so, but what I was getting about being gratuitous is, for me, there definitely were times when I did that too, but far more often than not, for me, the thrill of it was the absurdity the part that I love, right? Because you can't watch From Beyond and really you can't be like, well, I guess that's possible.
Right
Because it does, like The Thing. I mean, it gets kind of absurd, and it gets really, really gratuitous.
It does.
And some people, like my mom, I always pick on my mom, but she hates that. She's like, that you're just grossing me out, and that's nasty, and I don't want that. Whereas I am the exact opposite.
I know.
Of
It's
that.
like, give me more,
like, more.
And that's
more.
It's so true. And Stuart Gordon, he's got a shovel there. And he's just like, here's some more. Here's some more. I mean, that whole thing with that giant leech thing that sucks him up, and when they're downstairs. I mean,
Ken Foray's in his underwear.
I mean, that was one scene. I mean, I love it. You know, I love that scene. But as a director, you would probably be watching this, being like, "This isn't working." I think we're gonna cut this scene. You know, we'll do something else here, because that giant leech thing is just too absurd. But Stuart Gordon is like, perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. Well, it never crossed his mind, right? Because your lead actor has to be bald.
That's true.
And so the leech has to suck all of his body hair off.
Which, you know, they didn't touch on this in the making of, but I really wonder if that decision was probably made because they're like, well, we have to do this whole thing to accommodate his pineal gland. He can't have hair. We got to make him bald, so we got to put a skull cap on him. So he's got to be bald in the scene.
So how does he get bald? Yeah, right.
Oh, giant space leech.
Which looked awesomely. I mean, it was such I know that Stuart Gordon and his cronies were sitting around watching David Lynch's Dune, and they're like, we can use that in our movie. Right. Because the leech is definitely
it's got that Venus flytrap.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. Same shaped mouth. It's all full of teeth.
Yep.
Same kind of teeth, and I love it.
Yep. Yeah, it was great. It was great.
Yep.
Ken Foray is awesome in that.
Oh, he's so good.
What's the actress's name? Because
Yeah.
I think she was great too, and
she was, and she is also the lead in.
She has a great name too. She has a. It's like
the lead in Reanimator too. Her name is. Computer, tell me. Barbara Crampton.
Yes, Barbara Crampton. Yep. She is awesome. I love how she really, again, and she did the same thing in Reanimator too. She's like, I'm showing up here to do a real movie.
Right.
I'm with a bunch of teenage boys over here. I don't care.
Yep.
I am doing a real movie, and she plays it straight.
Absolutely.
Like just put full on, like I'm making a real movie here.
That's right. And that you're absolutely not understating that either. In that if you had an actress who wanted to be more tchotchke about it
and play along with them and stuff,
really could have drugged the movie down.
Definitely.
To where, because it's not believability in what we're seeing, but you do have a believability in the way that the characters interact.
Yes, and how they react to it too. Right?
Exactly.
Yep.
And you have horror movies in particularly horror movies can fail when their actors are just a bunch of dipshits,
Yeah.
And they're playing that teenage dipshit.
Right.
Like, name every teenage slasher flick, right?
Exactly.
So you've got some where some of the characters are playing it straight, but they are supported by a bunch of characters who are not playing it straight at all, right? It's all like, it's a big gag.
Goofy.
The whole thing is a gag, right? And even if their characters aren't necessarily supposed to be goofy, the way they portray their characters is by default goofy.
Oh,
cheesiness.
totally. Well, look at a great, fantastic, one of the best, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Absolutely.
Right? Like you have the actors like Johnny Depp,
That's
right?
right.
Who he did a great job.
Yep.
But he is also guilty of that thing. Like, I'm going to show up and I'm going to try to look cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, my
goodness. And he's like, every shot he's trying to look cool.
Oh, my goodness.
And,
yes.
And that's part of a goofiness too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is.
Where Barbara Crampton.
Mugging is what he's doing.
Yeah.
When the camera's on him, he's doing the side look and he's got the James Dean haircut.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was cool though too.
No, he's
so
great.
I don't blame him.
And I love the movie, but I know it's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah. So you have the actors that are like, I'm going to look cool in this cool horror movie.
Yep.
Or you have the ones that I'm going to be like the comedy relief.
Yep.
And you need those ones that are just taking it dead serious.
Right.
Serious as a heart attack.
And it's great because we're talking about actresses, and we talked about this in Evil Dead 2. The female lead in Evil Dead 2, she did the exact same thing. And you mentioned it in that episode that she was kind of a nobody, but she plays her part straight as an arrow.
Yep.
And you have to in that movie because Bruce Campbell is going to steamroll you.
He's
with
bouncing
nonsense.
all over the place. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be that backbone of the movie, right?
You do. It's kind of like in a band, right? You can have your lead guitar player up there going like, what, doing all that stuff. But if your drummer and your bass player aren't like keeping the song in reality,
on track,
it just all kind of goes to nonsensical.
It turns into a fish concert.
Right. How much fish do you want? How much do you have?
Right. Yeah. Right. So that's the thing. And my God, this movie though is just chock full. Here's the thing.
Yep.
When it gets going, it does not stop.
Absolutely right. Absolutely.
Other movies, they have like these kind of crescendos and waves and everything. This one just keeps piling it on until the absolute end, and then the end it just punches you in the face, and then the credits roll. Like,
oh man, dude,
amazing.
That outro shot of her laying there and everybody standing around. It's just like we've got. Here's our last time to get you.
Yeah.
And then oh man, yeah.
And the house is on Benevolent Street.
Benevolent Street.
And it's 666. It's just they're just having a ball making this movie, man.
Yep. And those great exterior shots, we both were laughing about it, when you see the shots where it's like the van is pulling up and unlocking the gate, and you see the exterior, the house looks so phony, right? It looks like such a one-dimensional prop, but it works on the best way.
It does.
Because it gives you that, like, you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That doesn't quite look real. But that's the point of it.
That's the point.
Yeah.
You're
gonna
right.
Go in and then it's 666 Benevolent Street. I mean, he's taking you on this ride.
Yeah. It's
And it just spirals. Yeah.
It really is,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
So good.
We're
Yeah.
joking about it when Barbara Crampton's character is cooking the fried eggs, right? And then Ken Foree's sitting there and he's like, "How can you eat at a time like this?"
Well, yeah, it goes from him puking to her cracking the egg in like one shot, you know.
Yes.
And you're just like, that is some good editing.
Yep.
So-
And it's funny too because that shot is a response to the night before when he's cooking, right? He's cooking the whatever he had there was like cauliflower and
right.
something meat pie cauliflower or something.
Oh, that looked pretty good.
But
actually.
remember he's cooking and it's all like very wholesome and
Yeah.
it's very like everything's
It was
going
like
good.
shepherd's pie cauliflower.
That's what it was. Yeah. But then the next day, after all this horrible stuff has happened, right? Yeah, he goes from puking to her making cracking eggs.
And then she's like, "You got to eat.
Yeah.
We got some more work to do." And he's like, "We're not going back there."
Right.
I love Ken Foree in that scene too. You mentioned it when we were watching it. He's totally playing that thing like, "Hey, I'm not doing this again."
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
come on, guys. He's trying to play. He's the voice of reason.
He
in
is
that
the
scene.
voice of reason.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Because it was when we were watching, I'm like, that's the guy I would be in this scene.
Yeah.
Like, we're getting the F out of here.
It's time to go
What's
now.
What's the matter with you people?
We don't do more tests. If you want to do more tests, this is where you get an entire lab of people to come in here.
Right.
Yeah.
But her pineal gland was stimulated, Peter.
Her pineal gland was full on stimulated. And I mean, that's the other thing. There's so much great S&M, weird 80s S&M stuff in this too. She looks
bomber.
She looks fantastic in this movie. To go from the nerdy scientist lady to like full on dominatrix.
That's right. Yeah.
Wow. What a character transformation.
Totally. Right.
And I love that doctor too. You remember that that stuck up prude. Yeah. And she's just got the eternal like clench face.
Yeah. Carolyn Purdy Gordon.
Oh man. I mean, talk about the best death scene.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
There are few death scenes as good as her death scene. So
just watch that. Her getting her brain sucked out through her eye socket.
And while his pineal gland kind of just keeps flopping around inside of her face. I mean, you're totally right. That scene alone, I would. That's worth the price of admission.
You can sell the movie on that. I mean, you can be like, okay, watch this 10-second shot,
right?
And then,
but you gotta have,
loves horror is like, dude, oh my goodness.
But you got to have the build up though too.
You
like,
do, yeah.
Everybody watching this movie just slowly hates her more and more. The more we see her, the more we're just like, I can't wait for her to leave because she's just such a DB of a character.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And the cop
she's
too.
every teacher that you hated.
Yeah,
right? Every
exactly.
teacher who was
just like
over domineering and just a ball breaker.
And you try to do something good, and they're like, "Well,
yes,
you didn't put it in the 3-ring binder." Oh,
right.
Okay.
Yeah. A testament to her as an actress. Because,
oh no, she's
I always
great.
say this: the hardest thing to do, I think, is to make you believe in the character so much that you don't like the person
that you
anymore.
loathe them. Yeah.
That is it's pure brilliance because it's so easy to do it the other way.
Yeah.
To be, not to pick on Bruce Campbell, but what I mean is it's super easy to love your hero when it's Bruce Campbell, right? You don't have to do anything. I love you, right? But to do the opposite that's really when actors are showing their skills. When you're like, man, I look at your face and I hate your guts.
I hate you. It's like Peck from Walter Peck from Ghostbusters.
Yes.
That poor guy. I heard stories about that guy because I love him too.
Me too.
I love him.
Yes.
Hate him in every movie though. He plays that same kind of character.
That's right. As soon as he
walks
walks into the frame, you're like, hate your guy.
I hate him. Yep.
Yeah.
Walter Peck from the EPA.
That's
that poor guy, he did such a good job that was like all he would get cast as.
That's right.
And I remember I heard some stories like he'd be walking around New York City and people in buses would be like throwing cans at him.
Man.
Because they just, it's just like, I'm not that guy.
Right.
But that's how good he was.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
And what is the magic word?
Right.
May I please open the Ecto Containment Center?
Oh man,
no, he was so good.
So good.
Yeah. So and that's here, and this is one thing. Let's see how you feel about this, Dr. K. But when he's eating the brain or something, or the liver, or I don't know what it was. It was a brain, right?
Yep. Yeah, on the floor.
And he's just like, oh, this is delicious, and it's like running down his chin. And he's got chunks of it on his chin still, like just great makeup, right?
Yes.
And she comes in there, and then he just flies over to her, and sucks her eye out of her face and spits the eyeball on the floor, and then just starts sucking the blood out of her eye hole. Yes. And she's just sitting there like
as his pineal gland is slapping her in the face.
And so this is the point I'm getting to, is that is horror too.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's hilarious. You find yourself like almost like, you're rooting for him in this weird way. It's like such a gross, awful, disturbing death scene, but you hate her so much too. And you're like, she deserves this, but then nobody deserves this.
Right.
And so it's like this weird thing.
So true.
I think that's one of the great.
Tug of war. Yeah. And when she first walks in too, I think I noticed this too, because you're absolutely right. It's just you're hating her more and more. Every scene she's in, she is this villain without being the bad guy villain. Oh. But when she comes in and sees him on the floor, because she sees the big pile of the blood coming under the door, she immediately, it's the first time that she's sympathetic, and she's like, what's his character's name?
Yeah. Cramfield or not Cramfield.
Yes, Crawford.
Crawford.
She goes, Dr. Crawford. She's like, you need to stop. You're going to get sick. She immediately becomes sympathetic, right? Because she sees how off the deep end he's gone, right? Yeah. She's like, you should put that down.
Yeah.
You're going to get sick,
a doctor,
right?
Yeah.
And then he has that moment where he's like, oh, and he kind of sees what he's doing, but then his pineal gland gives him predator vision.
Right, that's right.
And he sees her brain glowing.
That's right. How can you resist that once that happens?
And it's like her one moment of humanity in the whole thing, right?
And you contrast. I mean, this is why we were watching the making of thing, and they said that Stuart Gordon was his background was in theater,
right?
And then he went into movies, right?
Yes.
So the guy is like, he knows about characters and interactions and like building up tension and all that kind of character stuff.
Yeah.
And he's such an expert at that, like, because what you just said, when she's showing her humanity, right before that, she's at her utmost worst. That's where she's like, strap her up to electroshock therapy. And she's like, whoa, wait, I'm talking to you like a normal person, like let's not go that far.
Even the underling nurse is like, doctor, we don't do that, shut up.
She's like, who does the orders here?
Yeah.
And then that one doctor's like loving it, but I mean, you contrast that like just the utter despicableness of her,
right?
And then all of a sudden the humanity, and then you're playing with your emotions. Right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And then it's back to the bandwagon of, all right, you're sucking her brain out. Hey, are you a good guy or a bad guy?
You're just, I mean, you're just watching this with your jaw on the floor, like, oh my God, one of the best death scenes ever.
Oh my goodness,
you can't top it.
So good. Then right after that is the hobo scene, which is just pure comedic brilliance, right? So Dr. Crawford is now like, holy crap, man, I've got to get out of here and get back to the house to save my girlfriend. And there's this scene where the ambulance is pulling into the mental institution, and they've got this crazed hobo on a gurney. And he's just like rambling, and then fucking Dr. Crawford pops out and starts sucking the brains out of the ambulance driver, and that bum goes berserk, right? And you're just dying of laughter.
And it's great too, because they don't show it happen, right?
No, you just hear him yelling,
oh my God, no. And he just keeps doing that.
Snake came out of his head.
That was his pineal gland, hobo. Come on. You should have known that.
His pineal gland. Oh man.
Yeah, just incredible. This movie is just, and this is, I think, only the second time I've really seen it, you know?
Oh yeah.
And it's like, this is one of those movies you watch it, you're like, I could just turn back and watch it from the beginning.
Right
away.
And visually, there's so much stuff that you seriously want to, just like we talked about this with The Thing, but there's so many things going on visually, and some of the effect work, not the camera isn't fast, but you've got so many things in a shot moving and whipping around and being guts and transformations and
the
all
lighting and darkness and
it's
really it's worth a few viewings. And the evil doctor too is just fantastic.
Oh my goodness,
he's so gross and like
the main antagonist.
He's like he's got like the Sean Connery, Austin Powers bear rug chest, you know, he's just standing there.
Come touch me.
What does he say? He says, "Me, if it pleases you."
Yeah. Oh man.
Yes.
Ted Sorrell. That's the actor's name, but it's Dr. Edwards Pretorius. That's it. Edward Pretorius. Dr. Pretorius.
Yeah. He was fantastic.
You hear that name? That's the other thing. It's pineal gland and Dr. Pretorius.
Dr. Pretorius.
How many times should we say that? Maybe 50 more times. So you'll know that he's Pretorius.
Incredible.
It's great because it's that genius of that we talked about in our episode on John Carpenter's The Thing is cashed in here by Gordon, in that your monster is no one monster, right? You do have
anything.
The peripheral things, the little the eels, right? Those kind of stayed the same, and the little jellyfish guys. But then it's even weirder because those are hinting at what's in the From Beyond, and then we see the giant worm monster down in the basement. But then what we see with Pretorius is that he is always in a state of evolution. And that's his whole thing, right? Because he's trying to reach this higher being or whatever. But he's turning more and more into a freakazoid.
He really is.
In every single time that he gets pulled back by the harmonic stimulator or whatever.
And what's great too is he's loving it.
He loves it. Yeah.
You know, you would expect
he's totally getting off on it. That's that weird S&M.
You'd expect like in these kind of movies when they're like in the other zone or something, like help me, get me out of here.
It's the exact opposite.
He's
right?
like, I want more of this.
Yes.
You got to try it too.
Yeah, we were joking about when we were watching it the gratuitous use of ectoplasm and how ectoplasm was such a huge thing.
Oh man. It owned the
particular
80s.
with Ghostbusters, right? I mean, that really tipped it over. But like we were talking about, Poltergeist was the first one that I really remember, where it was like, there's this stuff, and it's if you go into a different dimension, it's called ectoplasm. It's the stuff between dimensions, and it can get on you. And you know, when we see Carol Ann on the rope get pulled through the ceiling, and she's all covered in the jello and she's twitching and everything. Yeah, it's like that was the foot that kicked the door in on the ectoplasm fad. I think Ghostbusters just went over the effing top with it.
They really did.
But then this movie cashes in. That first time when you see him come back from beyond and he's just naked. He's totally covered in that crap, right?
Oh yeah.
He's just like sweating
just
pink ectoplasm, and it's there's something so cool. And
I know, and it kind of operates on that whole amniotic fluid kind of birthing as you see him getting born out of the thing too, right?
Yes.
It's playing on that like sense memory of that, right? Like,
absolutely it is.
Oh man,
yeah, he's being born into a new form, which is freakazoidal puke-tastic.
Right. And the only thing, it's not even really a big thing because it's funny. We were laughing at it too, but it was a little silly, I think, when the doctor, Barbara Crampton, goes into the house at the end, pulls out the homemade bomb made out of dynamite sticks and timer,
right?
Which we've seen in every episode of MacGyver and A-Team.
Right. It was a little bit laughable. We both at the same time were just like, give me a break. When you got in the van and drove from the hospital back to the house, when did you have time to make this perfectly shaped dynamite charge
with a timer
on it? It's like
a little bit. That was the only thing far-fetched. Everything else we're totally on board with. The pineal gland, we get it.
That's right. Oh, those flopping pineal glands.
It's such a gross image, though, isn't it?
It's foul.
Just
It's
we're
totally
both.
foul.
Yeah, that's the perfect word for it. It's just foul.
Each time you see it peeking out when the
it's a hemorrhoid. It's a hemorrhoid that grows out of his forehead.
But a wormy. It's like when you watch those shows where it's like the body snatcher worms that you can get infected with. Right?
Yeah.
It's like that. It's got its own little brain. And
Yep.
yeah, when she's trying to grab it with the tweezers.
and then who bites it? Somebody bites it too, right?
Yes.
Did she bite it?
Yeah.
Somebody
Not
did.
the doctor.
Yeah.
It's Barbara Crampton.
Yeah.
Because he's going berserk, right? And she's like, and
Just
tries to save him and bites his pineal gland off. Yeah.
Yeah. Youch. Man. So many great moments in this movie.
So good. And it's great in the making of when one of the producers or somebody is talking about how they had to go in front of the ratings board.
Yeah.
Go with a presentation on that the pineal gland is actually a real thing. And this is what it's actually this shape, because they all thought for sure it was all phallic symbols. They're just trying to get.
Oh man.
Trying to get the workaround on the X rating, but they're like, no, it's real. It's real, right?
I love. I mean, that was. I think you mentioned it when we were watching it too. It's like this is the 80s,
to the max.
where they had to okay,
where you had to worry about that kind of.
We have to do a presentation and educate the people that are going to give us a rating now.
Right.
Because there's no
Isn't
internet.
That so absurd?
There's no
to even think about.
Yeah. Just amazing.
Yep.
So I think From Beyond is just flat out fun. I think
absolutely
any
if
age
you love
can enjoy
horror,
this.
They're just it's a must.
It's a must.
See. Yeah.
And people that know horror, they know it.
That's right.
But most people, they don't know it. This isn't on the same level as Poltergeist or any of those other ones.
Not
right?
not even close.
There's no pop culture. From Beyond. Yeah. Even The Thing has got more of a thing.
Totally,
that,
and it's like totally cult, right? But you're absolutely right. Yeah, it's got
people
way more
will be like,
fanfare
I've heard of The Thing. Yeah. But people should know about From Beyond.
Absolutely, they should. Just like with The Thing, it needs to be one of those when you show your cred when you're talking about movies, especially when you're talking about horror movies, but movies in general, where you can drop that bomb and be like, so you mean like in From Beyond,
right? That's like the
because I know that's what everybody does with The Thing, right?
Yep.
that's one of those like you were talking about when we were feeling each other out when we first met each other.
What do you know?
What do you know about say The Thing?
The Thing, yeah.
You're like, I know a lot.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's a card. Let me get out my deck of cards.
Yeah, it's just so fun. Just man, and so that will lead us now to our next movie. So now we're gonna jump ahead.
Yes.
So that was 86.
Yep.
Now we're gonna go all the way to 2001.
Yes.
Which we just before we recorded, we realized that this project was going to be made in 91.
That's right.
But for some reason, never got funded.
Hollywood happens.
Yep.
Stuff gets in the way. Yep.
But think about this.
Yep.
So the movie we're talking about is Dagon. Which is based on the classic H.P. Lovecraft story, The Shadow over Innsmouth.
That's correct.
And that's what they were going to call it in 91.
Yep.
And they had Bernie Wrightson do the creature designs.
Master.
Wow.
The master. Yeah.
But it just fell apart. So they said that they used some of the creature designs when they made it in 2001, but they couldn't use all of it.
Totally. So. And if you haven't picked up on the theme here, there's definitely the recurrent theme and connection. And the next movie we talk about here in this episode is going to follow this theme, is that Stuart Gordon has a serious... It seems like it really is part of what he was trying to do as a filmmaker was to shed his vision onto the brilliance that is H.P. Lovecraft work. Definitely. Because he is responsible for so many H.P. Lovecraft movies. Yeah. He's got to be, he has to be the guy.
Go-to.
He's the guy,
He's
right?
the H.P. Lovecraft
right?
guy.
Because From Beyond.
Yeah. Reanimator.
Yep. From Beyond. Dagon. Dreams in the Witch House. It's a grocery list of H.P. Lovecraft.
I think the episode that we haven't seen that's in Fear Itself, I think that's also a Lovecraft
Black
story
Cat?
too. Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Or no, is it Poe?
Or
maybe Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh, I don't know. We can find out.
Yeah. But regardless, it's not important.
No, it's not.
What's important is that this guy is the Lovecraft guy.
Yeah. Yep. So if you think you know something about Cthulhu, you need to dig deep into your Stuart Gordon. And
and maybe Dagon, at least. Yeah, I would say this is the closest you get to really seeing a Cthulhu beast.
Yeah, totally.
Really, too, right?
Absolutely, it is. Yeah. And it's all of the connotation that is with Cthulhu. It's the thing you don't see.
The deep ones.
It's the deep. It's the giant monster. We see CG tentacles pop out, which are definitely squid legs.
Yeah.
And all of the insemination scenes, which are fantastic.
Wow.
Are totally squid-like in their presentation, right? With the black ink and I don't know that that's how squids actually mate, but it's how they mate with people.
right. It's how they make hybrids,
according to Dagon. Mythos. Yes.
Yep. Yeah, and I like Dagon. It's a funny, it's a low budget movie. Definitely. I mean, I think he filmed most of it in Spain. On the cheap. But it works for the movie, I think, because it's this weird village. Their boat crashes in the beginning of the movie, and a friend of theirs that is with them, her leg gets pinned underneath some wood. They have to go get help, and all that's there is this crazy, weird fish village
right.
where everybody speaks Spanish.
Yes.
And so
fish mutants.
Yep. And they're all right off the bat, they're creepy. There's the priest.
Everything about it is just awkward.
Yep.
Yeah. Even before that, when you it's right. You've got your main characters who are this young in love couple and the dude who
Ezra.
Again we've got our recurrent Stuart Gordon theme here is that the actor who is the lead in Dagon is the lead in Dreams in the Witch House.
Yep.
And we'll get to the significance of his shirt.
Yes. Well, and even we notice this going to From Beyond too. It's even in From Beyond.
It is. Yeah.
Jeffrey Combs is wearing the Miskatonic University shirt there.
That's right.
And then you see it in Dagon. You're like, there's Miskatonic University, which is that's another H.P. Lovecraft little thing for people that know.
Absolutely. And then it's in Dreams in the Witch House.
Yep.
But I was talking about getting creeped out, right? Setting the tone of having it be creepy is when this guy first goes up on deck and we're assuming it's his mother-in-law and father-in-law, and the mother-in-law's up there mostly naked and he sees her boobs because she's tanning there and she gives him that look like,
yeah.
You're like,
it's just,
what?
I know. It's so true. It automatically starts you off feeling uncomfortable.
Yes.
Because the beautiful one is laying on his chest,
right?
And you're thinking any red-blooded person, guy, would be like, all right, let's go.
Right.
And he's like, no, I'm not feeling this, and I want to look at my computer and check my stocks. Already you're like, I don't like this guy. I don't trust him. He has this beautiful woman here that's just falling over him. And
that really is integral to the story that Gordon's telling you, right? We were talking about this during the when we were watching it, is that your main lead for the first half of the movie, you're just like, I don't like this guy. He's a milksop. He's a freaking, he's a bungler.
He's a bungler.
But then there's that moment about 2/3 of the way through where you flip the switch and now then you can start rooting for him. But he does a really, really good job of making you, here's our lead and he's a putz, man. He's a total putz.
Right. Yeah. And I think that kind of allows you to enjoy the weirdness of all the people in the town, because maybe if you cared about him a little bit more, you wouldn't be paying so much attention to all the weird,
the creepy weirdness.
Right. Because this way you can kind of be like, well, if he gets killed, it's not a big deal.
Right.
I hope his girlfriend is okay.
Yes. Oh, totally. I love how, too, you had the moment of brilliance when you're like, this town looks like the fishing town in Popeye.
Yeah, that's right.
I was like, yes, it does. It looks exactly like that set.
that may be the only time we ever mention Popeye on this podcast.
Yes.
It's
Robin Williams Popeye.
Yes.
We're talking about the Popeye.
That's one of those movies, where I still to this day,
So good.
You like it then?
I love it because it's a musical.
Yeah.
And I love it in that vein.
Okay.
So I love it for the same reason I love The Wizard of Oz, and I love The Sound of Music.
Okay, gotcha.
It's more of a comedy.
Yeah.
But it's totally a musical.
You're right.
You
You're
really
right.
can't get around that fact.
I will see you on that, but
Okay.
but for me, it's in that weird category of movies where I still to this day I'm not sure if I like it or not.
Okay, yeah,
because it's just it's. I think it was such a trip when I was a kid when I saw it.
Totally.
Because you're used to the cartoons.
Totally. Yeah.
And then you're just Robin Williams, and
Right, blonde Robin Williams,
and it's
Popeye's not bald,
right,
yeah.
and
There's a lot you have to give to it. Yeah,
there's a lot you have to give to it, and you have to almost be like, who was the director? He was a famous director.
Oh yeah,
I think it was Robert Altman.
I think it was. That's exactly who it was. Yeah. Yep.
And so he's like, wow, I can't believe we're spending this much on Popeye.
I know.
Okay, all I'm gonna say is, I would have gone more of the comedy route.
Yeah.
But he didn't. Like, there's some comedy in there. But
That's
he's like, I want you to buy into this Popeye guy.
Totally.
You gotta feel it.
Yes. Yep.
So yeah. What were we talking about? About Dagon.
The weirdness in Dagon
Yeah.
once they've gone ashore, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the major mistake is that they go on shore and it's downhill from there. If they had
Just
been
all
able to stay
falls
on their
apart.
boat,
Yep.
which they can't because
Yeah.
it gets
The storms
high sided
come in,
and
yeah.
the storm comes,
Yep.
which is obviously controlled by Dagon.
Right.
But yes,
Yeah. Yeah. So what I like about this movie is it's funny because the first time I saw it, I was like, this guy's pretty cool. This Miskatonic University guy. Then I watched it again with you, and I was like, yeah, you're right. This guy, I don't like this guy at all. He's a milksop.
right?
Milksop
he
is a perfect word for
He
it.
totally is. Yeah.
But it's fun to see him kind of like similar to Evil Dead 2, where he just kind of keeps getting the crap kicked out of him, and he's falling over things.
Yep.
And,
Yep. Yeah, his gimp leg.
Yeah, and then he jumps out of the second story of that. I mean, that hotel room is great.
Yeah.
It's just like that's.
Yes. Yep, it's so gross.
Yeah, and those kind of hotel rooms do exist too. Like.
Oh, absolutely. I've stayed in them, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're like, this is what we got. Okay.
Yep.
But
he turns the water on. It's like air shoots out and then green.
He's like, oh, no way. Yeah. And then he's playing with her lighter.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
A little bit of foreshadowing there.
Yeah, totally.
But, things really get better in this movie, I think, when you see the I tell you the truth. That guy.
That's who I was looking up to find his name.
I tell you true.
That guy is so good.
Yeah.
So good.
We
were both super bummed because the movie was dedicated to him because he died during production.
Man, I would have loved to have seen him in more things. I mean, it's great. He gives you the whole backstory of why this village is like this.
Yeah.
In his crazy broken English.
That's right.
Mumbling voice. And it works. It's one of those things where it's like, wow. He's a drunk hobo speaking broken English.
Yes.
And he's going to tell you all of the exposition for the movie.
That's right. And that's a serious risk too. When you have somebody just tell you it, sometimes it's like that it's a serious missed opportunity. But because he was such a character, when he was doing like the gimp eye, the one eye looking up at the ceiling type things when he's talking, and he totally made me think like this guy 30 years earlier could have been a pro wrestler. Yeah. And then like this is kind of what he is now.
Yep.
The actor we're talking about is Francisco Rabal.
Yes.
Was his name.
Cool.
Obviously a Spanish actor. But he really is that cool center pin to making everything that's going on coherent and make sense.
Yeah, definitely. Because
if you left the main characters to figure it all out, it would have been disjointed, and we'd be like, why the fuck are they doing that?
Yeah.
Right? And so he just tells you.
He tells you and he does it in such a way, and he's so there's so much in, it's like that classic thing we've talked about where it's like there's so much in the eyes,
Yeah, oh man.
He does so much with his eyes. You really believe him, and for the first time you're like, I care about this character.
That's right.
I care about this
You're
drunk hobo
absolutely
dude.
right. Yep.
And so then when he gets his death scene, you're like,
Oh,
whoa,
man.
it's pretty harsh. It's pretty
Yes.
brutal.
Yeah. Very Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
There was a lot of borrowing, I think.
Yeah.
Or not borrowing, but there was kind of
That nod to it.
The
Yeah.
flavor that they
Yeah.
wanted to go for.
Mhm.
Once you see what these fish people, the Dagon acolytes, are doing to the few humans that they can get, it's totally Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right?
really is.
Wearing their masks,
Yep,
and,
yep.
peeling your face off to wear
Yep,
it as a mask,
yep.
or to make a suit
Yep.
out of.
It's Silence of
carcasses.
the Lambs too, right?
Oh, big time.
It's,
Yeah,
yep.
big time. Yep.
Buffalo Bill.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man, the main squid, the
Yeah.
dad. He's just
Yeah.
he's so weird looking. You're just like,
He's
oh.
like, it's so good.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
very
fun.
Cthulhu.
And it's not too many. It's this movie. It makes sense now that we know that it was going to be made in 91,
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's such a movie that would have been made in 91.
Oh man,
don't you think?
Absolutely.
This would have been on Showtime,
That's right.
Skinemax.
That's right. Yep.
Right after Beastmaster.
Yes.
You would have seen this, because it's got the whole naked woman hanging from chains sacrifice scene.
Yeah. Yep.
Which was like, that was an 80s mainstay.
To the max. Speaking of Stuart Gordon,
Mm-hmm.
Pit and the Pendulum. I mean,
Yes.
you can totally see where he's like, "Hey, we made this work in Pit and the Pendulum so well.
Let's do that again.
Do that in this." Yes.
Yep.
Beautiful naked ladies hanging from chains, getting fed to Cthulhu monsters.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a fun movie. It's
Super
not
fun,
It's
yeah.
not it's nowhere near as good as From Beyond or any of the
No,
other
totally
ones,
different
but
movie
it's a
though.
totally
This is
different
different. The way that they're trying to creep you out in Dagon is a very different approach,
Yeah.
right? It's a lot of I don't know if subtlety is the right word, but it's not that kind of like gung ho approach, with the
Yeah.
shotgun approach,
Right,
Where
right.
it's like, okay, and here it is, pow, we got you.
Yep.
There's a lot more build.
It's kind of
going
more
on.
of a suspense
Yep.
kind of. It's a chase movie. in
There
a
we
way,
go.
Right.
Perfect,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And unfortunately, I think that's the single place where it failed. If just to be critical, because it is a good movie, but
Yeah.
to point out, I think that the trapping for me is that it is a chase, but what you're trying to get to is to Dagon, right?
Yeah.
And Dagon is a CG
Yes.
squid legs.
Yes.
You don't ever see him. It's what Phil Tippett said about his work on Empire Strikes Back, where he's like, or it was Dennis Muren. It was one or the other. But when they're talking about the Wampa creature, where it's like, do you show the monster or do you not show the monster?
Right.
Right? And so you can make it work both ways. You can always do it both ways. You can do cutaways, but man, sometimes you need to show the stinking monster.
You're so
And
right.
that's where Dagon maybe kind of dropped the ball on the end, is all we see are legs,
Yep.
and we see the black boiling frothy, his jizz bomb or whatever it is,
Yeah. You're totally right, man.
to impregnate the girl, but you don't ever see the monster. You see monsters. There's plenty of the mutants, all of the mutant acolyte peoples,
But you don't see the.
but you don't see the monster. And so to have a movie named after a monster and not show the monster,
it's a little bit.
that is what it is.
And that's where you mentioned, and I think this is true. I should know this, based on my Conan the Barbarian knowledge.
Oh,
but
yes.
I do think that the god in Conan the Destroyer is named Dagon.
I think
I'm
so
pretty
too.
sure he is.
Yeah.
And so that's what they should have gotten for this. They should have just pulled him over into this movie.
Yes.
And if they would have shown that guy,
Right.
bravo,
Yes. Yeah.
or just some little iteration of that,
Right. And it only makes sense, right? 'Cause
Floppy
we're talking,
gill hands and yeah.
it's the Robert E. Howard,
Yeah.
H.P. Lovecraft connection, right?
yeah.
Because they were buddies.
Yep.
And so the fact
Yeah.
that they'd be using the same god,
Yep.
who was a fish god,
Right.
pff,
It's the Cthulhu,
It's gotta be.
It's the Cthulhu mythos, They were all dipping into that. But I totally agree with you too. I think they should have shown it. although I will say, I'll give it this point because I know I've read a little bit more Lovecraft than you have.
Yeah,
no, not more, but
without a doubt, yeah.
But that is one of the things in his stories though too.
Yeah,
he doesn't show you.
That's right.
He talks around a lot of things, and you get all this weird feeling and stuff. But you very rarely get to see what it is he's talking about.
But would you agree that that's a fundamental difference between the literary experience versus the cinematic experience?
Yeah,
is that no matter how much, because I mean we're both super guilty of this, that source material is held to the highest standard.
Yes.
Right? So either you can do it right or you can F it up.
Yeah.
But we hold source material at a very, very high level because I think, and I hate to speak for you, but I know I'm a reader.
Yeah.
I like to hold myself in a very high regard and that I love literature. But there comes that point when what you try to do with a film, you have to tell that story different than you tell a book.
Right.
Because when it comes to like building, when you can really get away with that in a book, with that long buildup, even if your long buildup is only 20 pages.
You're right.
Right? You can't do that in a film in the same way.
You're right. You're right.
Maybe that's what...
It's a different animal, right? Yeah. That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing about the book or the movie. You know, people are always like, "Oh, the book is way better than the movie," and you know, I think you get to that point.
I'm so guilty of having said that 1,000 times. Yeah.
But then you get to that point where you're just like, "Well, it's a different thing."
That's right. It is.
I enjoy the movie for what it is, and I enjoy the book for what it is.
It is. And you know, we're going to subject our viewers, our listeners here, to one of the longest ongoing conversations we've had. But Lord of the Rings is the epitome of this conversation.
Yep.
In that, if Peter Jackson had went and pitched, okay, I'm going to do a 400 episode movie, and we're going to go verbatim and do everything in the order of the book, and we're going to use every single character, and we're going to use every single line of dialogue, and we're going to use all the exposition.
No,
you can't do it.
No, there's no way.
You can't do it.
And nobody would want to see. Even
no one would want to.
No matter how much you love those books, nobody would want to sit through that.
That's right, and that's why I think he gets the credit that he deserves in making 3 movies out of that huge, awesome piece of material. But you can only do so much before it's not a movie anymore. Then it's something weirder that no one has the patience for.
You're right.
Because and that's the word, isn't it? It's patience. We have endless amount of patience for reading books. We have very, very limited patience for movies.
For movies, yeah. We want everything in an hour and a half.
Unfortunately, yes. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's so true, and that's why I don't get people that say, "Oh, you know, they're going to make a movie out of this. I really don't want them to make a movie out of this."
I know,
you know?
right?
And because it'll ruin it, you know. Like, no, that is, you know, okay, Dune, perfect example, right?
Yes.
That is David Lynch's Dune. That's his version. That's what he saw when he read the book. That's what he wanted to make.
That's right.
This, or maybe no. Actually, he didn't. I don't think he even read the book.
I know, right?
But okay, maybe not a good example. But it is David Lynch.
But run with it.
It's his his vision of the book, that's fun to see. As a fan of the book,
that's right.
I love to see some like, oh, that's cool. That's how he sees that. You know?
That's right.
And same thing with Lord of the Rings. It's like that's Peter Jackson's. That's
right.
That's Peter Jackson's way of seeing that. And and man, he gets a lot of things like pretty much how I saw them too in the
absolutely.
Except for Elijah Wood. Not
yeah.
Really. But that's a whole nother thing.
You're right.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
he really doesn't hold up to everybody else kind of can weather the test of time.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe he was there for teenage girls, I guess.
He was. Absolutely he was. Yeah.
And so all the teenage girls listening to this.
Without a doubt.
They're like, no.
That's right.
Elijah Wood is great.
Yes.
He was the perfect Frodo.
Yes. When he skateboards down the stairwell on a freaking shield while simultaneously shooting 19 orcs through the head in 4 seconds. Awesome.
Now you're talking about Legolas, though.
Now that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was awesome.
Oh, yeah. I'm talking about Legolas. Yes.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Elijah Wood has huge eyeballs that I get sick of looking at.
I know. Okay. So, Sam. He is, that's why I like The Hobbit though, because Martin Freeman was
Right.
great.
Oh,
You're
man,
just like,
yeah.
man, I wish he was Frodo. Can they go
So
back and
perfect.
can George Lucas go back and re-edit him into the make it all awkward like Jabba
Yes.
in Star Wars?
Man.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. But man, yeah, I think that for H.P. Lovecraft,
Yep.
it's good. This is a good segue because Dreams in the Witch House, that may be the closest I think Stuart Gordon gets to really pretty much nailing the source material there.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
It's updated,
So
of
I
course.
haven't read it, but you have.
Yeah. It's updated. I mean, everything Lovecraft wrote was like in the early 1900s, but
Yeah, totally.
but it's updated for our times, but it pretty much gets the all the main points, I think. More so than than Dagon got Shadow over Innsmouth, or even, I mean, From Beyond. That story, I don't even remember the story. That's how this. I think it was it was like a treatise on what's out there in the air around us,
Yes, right.
and it was like 3 or 4 pages, probably,
Right.
And then Stuart Gordon just made it into this amazing thing.
Right. Yes.
But Dreams in the Witch House, that really, I mean, it really nails a lot of
Doesn't
that
it?
feeling.
It works on so many levels too. The fact
Love
that
it.
it's getting very much like From Beyond. It's getting into interdimensional. That whole quagmire, that whole mess, right?
Yep.
Like so you're living on a certain plane, and this witch is on another plane, but there's a
intersect.
point in which she can get through to our dimension. I love it because it's sci-fi, but what he's doing is he's taking these physics and sci-fi mess and mashing it with this much
the
more cultish witchcraft thing, and man, dude, if it doesn't work,
it works. Yeah,
so good.
Yeah,
so good. And the antagonist in Dreams in the Witch House, the witch, dude,
creepy,
awesome.
Yeah,
freaking awesome.
And
so good.
And the fact that she's sacrificing newborn babies up there. It's like,
and she's been torturing the poor old man who lives downstairs, who you think is just crazy, but really he's the only one who actually understands what's going on.
What's happening,
and he's been there trying to protect the rest of the world from the witch by doing all of his weird Catholic bizarro stuff. Oh man, so good.
Yeah, and it's incredible that this short film, because it's not even an hour long.
That's right.
It's such just a great crafted package there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's one of those things where it's like it was exactly the amount of time needed to tell that story.
That's right. And, because if you had any more, it would have slowed everything down.
Yeah.
Everything would have started grinding down. Even if it's stuff that as a viewer you think that would be great to have been able to seen this or that, the timing would have suffered. And that's where that film just accelerates. It's so well done in the amount of time that they decided to craft it in.
And it's one of those times where you as a viewer too, you feel like, he's not playing down to the audience.
Oh, absolutely not.
He's like,
so true.
I know who you are.
Yep.
And this is what and you, I know what you're expecting.
That's right.
All those things happen. Like that's what's great is like you get to a point in it where you're like, okay, I know what's going to happen now. And it just speeds through that stuff. And now he's in the hospital. He's arrested.
That's right.
Where in a Hollywood movie that thing would be like,
oh my goodness.
It would take 30 minutes to get to there from when he's arrested to when he's in the hospital. But he just zooms it up and then and it's just I mean. Really, really expertly done. This episode.
Totally, and it's interesting in that it works in a way that I think is another talking about. We were talking about this earlier, but things that are very difficult to do, and that is it's a no-win situation for every single character except the witch. Right. And sometimes that's a huge downer, and you're like,
right,
man.
Yeah.
Like, that's a bummer. But in this, you're just like, man, dude, you're taking the punches.
Yeah,
right?
You're like, whoa.
Yep.
And a lot of it has to do with that little rat.
Oh man,
he was fantastic.
Brilliant.
He was so good.
It's such a gag the way that they made him work.
Yeah.
Right, with the close-ups of his face and everything. Yeah. But dude, it
works.
You absolutely needed it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think Stuart Gordon really learned from Dagon. I think here where he was like, okay, a little too much CG. It was 2001. Give me a break. You know, I was just figuring out all that stuff. Now it's 2005. Okay. We shouldn't use too much of that.
Almost none. Yep. Yeah.
And which is good because had this movie been made a few years earlier, that rat would have been CG. Right.
And totally effing lame.
Yeah. So it was great.
Yeah.
Spooky as hell.
Oh my goodness. Right.
It hits you in that sweet spot where it's like, this is kind of funny. This is kind of disturbing though.
Yeah, but and it's that whole keeping you wondering, right? Because you're not, we talked about this when we watched it, but so you've got one of your main protagonists in the mother, Frances. Frances Elwood is the neighbor and the mother of the child who is really central to the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
But the actress who plays her, who is Shayla Horsdal,
yikes.
She's great because she's both the main female antagonist and she's the main female protagonist.
Yes.
Right? So she's the witch and she's this good character, and that creates that what I was trying to get at was it creates that like I'm not sure what I'm seeing, right? Because she's both good and she's both bad. Okay, well, is the witch pretending to be her?
Yeah.
Or is it really her? Which I think if I'm looking back on the film, I do think it's the witch pretending to be her.
Yeah, I think
to trick him.
Yep.
Right.
I think you're right.
Because the witch is timeless, right? She lives in this other dimension. She's been killing, for we're going to do some spoilers here, but she's been killing children in this house for 300 years.
Yeah.
So she just takes the form of the mother, but they do that by having the actress play both parts, and it's that part is tripping you out, right?
Brilliant, because you're just not sure what to trust.
Super good.
And Stuart Gordon mentions that in the making of. I think and he was right on too, where he said this actress, she feels very matronly, she has this kind of motherly quality.
Yep.
And so you trust her,
And when she's the witch, you're like, wait.
What? Yeah.
Yep.
And then that's why that scene is so great when she's all naked, and he's like carries her to the bed, and then she turns into the old lady from The Shining. And she's like,
oh, we got to talk about that. You have to tell your story because it's so apropos for how important that scene in The Shining is and why we both immediately think when you watch this film, you will immediately go back to the old lady in The Shining.
Yep.
And then your story about how
it's the same kind of thing because
weirded you
so I love The Shining. Like it's one of my favorite movies, easily
one of the best movies.
It's so good, and it's so we got to do an episode on The Shining too because I want to see it again now that I'm thinking about it. I want to see it again.
Yes.
It's a great example too of the book and the movie being two totally different animals.
Right. That's right.
But so what happened is I hadn't seen The Shining for years. I was one of those guys renting it at the video store.
Yes.
Never for whatever reason I never bought it on VHS. And then DVD passed me by. That was one of those weird DVDs though too, right? It was kind of like
it is because it's shot in that different aspect ratio. That's why a lot of people it took forever. It took the internet to kind of sort it out, but the fact that it wasn't shot in standard widescreen, right? Not even in the theaters, and that's what a lot of people forget because unless you saw it in 1980 in the theater, you wouldn't know because what happens is we all get really jaded about the fact that stuff became edited for TV screens, right? So then when you go to watch a movie like The Shining, which wasn't shot in standard theatrical aspect ratio, widescreen, and then you watch it and you're like, wait a minute, this isn't the right aspect ratio, but that's part of that whole tripping you out shit.
Okay.
That the part of the Stanley Kubrick brilliance that was going on was to not show it in standard aspect ratio, right? In standard theatrical. 14 point whatever.
So
whatever
it throws you off a little bit.
So it messes you up.
Yep.
And I know that's why I was always weird about buying it on DVD because I was like, it's in the TV ratio.
Yeah.
I don't want to get that.
That must have been it because
it doesn't exist in standard ratio. Yeah,
because it's
if it did, it's an edited version. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I never thought about it because that was a thing too. Yeah, it was because it's such a gorgeously shot movie. You
Epic.
know?
Yeah.
Again,
Epic
like the
shots
Dario Argento stuff, the colors, the lighting,
Yep.
the compositions. I mean, it's just a beauty to behold.
That's
this
right.
movie.
That's right.
And so when it came on Blu-ray,
Yes.
I was like, I was through the roof. I was like, oh my God, I'm buying this right now.
Yep.
I brought it home.
Yep.
I had just gotten a projector.
Oh, yes, right.
So I'm sitting there, and this was shortly after my first son was born.
Yep.
And so, we were up at all kinds of hours, how it is, newborn kid.
Yes.
And I was like, well, I definitely cannot watch this anytime today because it's going to freak out my son and my wife.
Totally.
She doesn't like scary movies that much either.
Yep.
So I was finally at about 3 a.m. I'm like, all right, now's my chance.
Yes.
Son is asleep. My wife is asleep. I got the projector going.
Yeah.
I can watch this now. I can't wait. I've been waiting all day. Watching it. We get to the old lady scene in the bathtub, and I kid you not, this is what happens. I'm sitting there watching it. And, before that, there's like the music is going and stuff. So it's one of those things, too. Yeah. Doesn't this bother you with Blu-rays? I notice this a lot with Blu-rays. The sound keeps spiking up and down. Oh,
man, absolutely. Yeah.
And so you can never find that sweet spot of like just keeping the volume level, you know? That's one thing that technology hasn't solved for us.
Well, it is if you want to spend a gazillion bucks on a freaking audio processor that flattens all that crap out.
Right.
Yeah,
or a really good pair of headphones,
spend more
I guess.
money. Yeah.
But back in the day when we had a shitty black and white TV, that volume would stay consistent.
Mono with one 4x8 speaker.
Yep.
Yes.
So the volume was going up and down, and I'm playing with it and stuff. And and we get to that scene, and I'm just like, I'm stuck to my chair. I hadn't seen this for years, and I'm just like, and I kid you not, that old lady comes up and she starts making out, and then she pulls back and she starts laughing. So I do remember that. She's laughing at him. Right after that, though, because it's such a loud laugh, I hear this voice, Peter. And I just, what? I'm just like bolt upright, the hairs on the back of my neck straight up.
Oh, man.
Can you turn it down? It's my wife. She's in the bedroom. Can you turn the volume down? Okay. Okay, honey. Yep. Turning it down. Sorry.
So good.
And so, man,
I wanna cry.
Yeah.
It's so good. Yeah.
I mean, that's what you want a movie to do to you, right?
Yes, that's
and
right.
So,
you're enthralled.
Yeah.
Right? You're so enthralled with it that you do go somewhere else.
Yeah.
You're in a different place.
I was in a different place. I was I could not have been more freaked out.
Yes.
So yeah, that was one of those beautiful. I love it. And so that's why it's great because you have those things happen where that was always one of the most scary scenes to me as a kid too. Watching it.
Oh,
and
man,
it carries through when you're an adult, and
that's
it's like great. Now it will always be scary to me because I'll always think about that.
That's right.
Dreams of the Witch House.
We did. So back to Dreams in the Witch House. Fantastic cast. Mm-hmm. They really did. By position, because it's got a very small cast, right? Mm-hmm. The landlord, that guy's perfect.
Yep.
The old man downstairs, the religious fanatic, perfect.
He looked kind of like Ben Kingsley, I thought.
Yes. The leads both, I mean, perfect.
Yep. And the rat guy.
And the rat dude, oh my goodness. What is that guy's name?
And the music too, was it Richard Band that did the music? It had to have been.
Yes, it was. That's right. Yep.
Richard
We're talking
Band.
about Richard Band.
Yep. He did all the music for
Man,
Stuart Gordon. I think.
All the Stuart Gordon films, all those Empire films.
He was the Danny Elfman to his Tim Burton.
Totally. Yep. Yevgen Vonneman is the rat. Whoever that guy is, he doesn't even have a picture on IMDb.
Wow. He was great.
He was perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the creepy human-faced rat creature. Familiar, right? That's what he's called.
The familiar,
It's her familiar.
Yep. Oh,
You've seen it.
He was just having a blast too, like the teeth and stuff.
Yes. She's gonna get ya.
She's gonna get ya.
Oh man.
Yeah,
so
that was
good.
the
the Necronomicon. We didn't So another.
Yep.
Getting back to the H.P. Lovecraftian.
Yep.
Awesomeness. for all of you Evil Dead fans, the Necronomicon is featured prominently in this film. It's at some library on a university, and we did never know.
That's right, and he's in his underwear reading it, right? Yeah. And that librarian was great too. I wonder if that
I think that might be the same.
The doctor, right, from Beyond, because she was great. She played the same kind of character.
Yep.
What are you doing here? Don't you know the library is closed? And you're like, lady, he's in his underwear. How did you get this book?
Right.
He's just like, I don't know why I'm here. Yeah. She was the ultimate.
It's not her. It's not her. This actress that we're talking about is Donna White.
Okay.
Best known for her part in the X-Files, IMDb says.
Oh. Man, that's another thing I wish we could do. Some point we can. Well, we're already kind of doing TV with Master of Horror.
Yeah. Yes.
We could talk about the X-Files too, because
we've got to.
We've
got to get there because the X-Files is just like its predecessor, The Twilight Zone, which I would say there's no. We could do episodes just on the comparison between the X-Files and the Twilight Zone.
Yes.
But it was for the 90s what that perfect marriage of the Twilight Zone was in the 60s of sci-fi, horror, and suspense, right? The trifecta of all things that are good in storytelling.
Yes.
Those three, right? And the X-Files we needed the X-Files so bad in the 90s, right?
We really did.
And it just delivered.
And it was great how it seems like every few years there's like the UFO crazes, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
And you remember that show? I think it was called Sightings. And it was it was Riker from Next Generation.
That's right.
Was the host.
That's right.
And I always feel like, in my memory at least, it was like you'd watch Sightings and then that just kind of transferred into the X-Files.
Into the X-Files.
You know? And so it was like this great, like, I'm all in. You know?
Totally. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, to my mom's credit, that was the 90s for my mom was X-Files and Seinfeld.
Yeah, well, and what about The Simpsons too? Was it Simpsons?
She wasn't. That was me.
Okay.
And then my dad was Next Generation to the max.
See, those are all the great shows there, there though.
Yep.
That's when Fox was pretty good.
Yeah. Right.
That's before Fox became Fox.
Yes, right. Oh my goodness, 21 Jump Street.
Yeah.
Speaking of Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp, yep. Oh man. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean that Necronomicon though, man, that was It's funny because I'm reading right now which did I send it to you? I got a PDF of it. I'll send it to you.
Ooh, please.
It's Robert Bloch's Mysteries of the Worm.
Oh.
And so he was a Lovecraft acolyte, and he also wrote Psycho, right?
Oh yeah, totally. Yes.
But early on in his career, he just did a ton of like Lovecraft B-movie stories, basically. You know.
Cool.
And his thing was the Mysteries of the Worm. That was this book.
Yes.
That was on the same shelf as the Necronomicon.
Right.
And like each author had their book, you know.
Right.
Robert E. Howard's was like Nameless Cults, I think was the name of his one. And so they would all mention each other's books and their stories too, like
right.
Nameless Cults and Mysteries of the Worms were right next to and you're like, wow, they really do exist. I gotta find those. You know?
Totally.
But yeah, they're great.
Man, I remember thinking the Necronomicon was real for decades.
Oh
probably, just from Evil Dead, right?
Well,
they it's so prominent in Evil Dead. I was like, oh, that has to be a real thing.
Yeah, right? I know. I remember looking for it too. I think that they played it up too, like in the 70s or something like that. Because I remember looking on eBay. I was like, I wonder if there's a Necronomicon out there.
Right.
You know? And I think there was one in the 70s that they printed.
Nice.
That was just full of like Satanism stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
totally. Yep.
But yeah. By the Mad Abdul al-Zahir or something that wrote it. You know?
Right.
So good.
Oh man.
Yeah. I'll send you. Anybody else wants that PDF of Mysteries of the Worm?
Yes.
Well, no, you should buy it.
Just call Pete.
Just call me.
Yeah.
No, Robert Bloch needs his. Oh, he's dead. No, so that doesn't matter. That's how I treat those things. I'm gonna say it right now.
Yeah.
if you're a live author or you're a live artist,
Yeah.
I'll try to buy your stuff. But
Yes.
if you're dead, I'm not going to give money to the studio for you.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It depends on how successful you are.
Yeah.
Or if, that's the only way you can get it,
Right.
Like, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. I'll buy that on
yes.
whatever, right?
Oh my goodness, yeah.
He was killed by the Illuminati, but after that movie, Eyes Wide Shut.
Yes, Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
I like.
Okay,
some
so your
parts of that
opinion
movie.
is that really a Kubrick film or not?
Being
that he died during the making of it. So
it's weird, right?
Or do you not take a stance? You say, well, obviously he started it. But.
Yeah, that movie is so weird, man.
Yeah.
That movie is so weird.
I think my problem with that sort of stuff, and I don't mean the film itself, I mean the circumstance, is that it's like if okay, so instead of, what was the Beatles? Was it the White Album? Was it the last one?
Technically, well, they did Abbey Road.
Yeah.
And then there was Let It Be.
Okay, Let It Be. So let's just pretend that John and Paul died during the making of Let It Be.
Yeah.
And they bring in two other guys. And they're like, well, we have it written.
Yeah.
And we know what to do, but these two guys are going to play on it.
Yeah.
Would it be the same thing?
Would it still be a Beatles album or a Beatles movie? I don't know.
I would say no.
Yeah, I would say no.
And that was always my problem with Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah.
Is that no doubt it was a Kubrick film to the point in which he died, but then it became the producer's film after that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times I wouldn't care, but I think because of his legacy and the way that he made films, I don't know.
It almost should have been a documentary.
Yes,
instead
that's
of a
exactly
movie,
what
right?
it should have been.
Yeah.
It should have been, this is what we were doing.
Yeah. I agree.
But the wheels were turning. The wheels couldn't be stopped.
It was such a machine, especially when you got Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman attached to it,
Yes.
That's another reason why that movie is so weird, I think.
Right.
Because it's he chose them definitely for a reason. I mean, he did not need to choose them. They were just like, oh my God, I get to be in a Stanley Kubrick movie.
Yeah.
They couldn't believe it.
Right.
But he chose them for a reason.
What was the last movie he did? Was it Full Metal Jacket? What was the last movie he did before that?
It had to have been, I think. Yeah. So that was a good over 10 years.
Well over 10 years. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just with the story matter that it's talking about, and then it's all about the relationship between Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise, and then they ended up breaking up with each other in real life too. They were with each other during the filming, and then they're Scientologists, and then they're Illuminati, and then there's all these weird parties. I mean, it's that movie is just such a, and maybe that's what he wanted too, just to have this kind of spillover into real life.
Yeah.
And what is the movie and what is real life? And,
totally. Very Lynchian.
Yeah. But what's funny is I remember reading about this when that movie was coming out.
Yeah.
You know who his first choice was for Tom Cruise?
No.
Because he was going to make it back in the 70s or something.
Oh, okay.
You will never guess who his choice was.
Bruce Campbell.
That would have been cool. Steve Martin.
What?
I kid you not. Look it up.
What?
Steve Martin was skyrocketing to fame in the 70s, remember?
The jerk, man.
And so I think there was something with that character being so popular and so successful.
Yeah, man, that must have been
the same thing with Tom Cruise, right? They were just top of their game.
You're right.
And and he's like, that's who I want to play this character, that type of person, super mega star kind of, and that would have been so, I mean, man, I wish that movie would have been made with Steve Martin.
Yeah. When was the first Steve Martin serious role? I mean, really, right? I've heard him talk. Yeah, right. He talks about it a lot.
Yeah.
It was seriously hard for him to get straight roles.
Right.
Because they were like, no, you do comedy, right? You are a comedian.
Right.
And he had the damnedest time.
Wasn't it LA Story or something, or Grand Canyon, or one of those in the early 90s, I think,
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Because he couldn't do anything serious.
Because that would have been his opportunity. I mean, who knows what he would have thought if it would have actually happened, say in 70, whatever.
Man, what a trip.
79, 78,
right.
79. to get an opportunity to play a straight role, because he was really, I mean, he came up as a comedian. That was the whole thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
He was doing comedy, smart comedy.
Yep.
Which,
The Jerk.
the Jerk, dude. Oh, dude, I quote The Jerk almost every day.
It's
such a good movie.
It's
talk about well-written movies, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can read that script and you're just like,
it's beautiful.
It's so good.
It already works.
It is so good.
Yep.
Yeah. Take everything else out. And you just The Man with Two Brains. I mean, he did so many good ones.
Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's sad, isn't it, man? Like, come on, we want to see more Steve Martin. Same thing with Eddie Murphy too, though. You know what happened to that guy's career?
He just does voiceovers. He did Shrek, and then that was it.
He makes tons of money doing that, and he's like, all right.
Yeah.
Yep. But it's funny. Recently, now we're going on way outer. Now we're going to outer space because we've already done From Beyond.
Opened the door to From Beyond. Here we come.
We might as well. But I recently, my son watched Monsters vs. Aliens.
Yep.
And he was loving, which I love this scene too.
Yeah.
When the president is playing, his president is playing on the keyboard.
Yes. Stephen Colbert. Yeah.
Yep. And he does the whole. And my son is just like, "What is that song?" You know. And I was like, "That's Axel's theme from Beverly Hills Cop."
Yep.
And so we went on YouTube and watched that, and I was like, "Man, Beverly Hills Cop is such a great movie."
Oh, dude, totally.
I wish he would have made like 14 of those movies. You know.
Yep. No, just 2.
And we only get 2. What was the problem? Judge Reinhold
McNulty was still like on planet Earth, I think, back then.
That's right.
That might have been it. He was going to From Beyond.
Yeah. He was already going out there. Yeah.
Yep. All right.
How long have we been going for?
Let's see.
What's our timer?
Oh man, 1 hour 41.
Oh wow. This is
so this is going to be our our big marquee.
Yeah. Well,
we did 3 movies,
so
there'll be another long one.
Definitely. And I mean, we could talk about Stuart Gordon for hours more.
Ever. And we will, because probably I'm guessing our next Stuart Gordon episode will be the Reanimator trilogy.
Yep. Definitely.
Because, man.
That's just a gold mine.
Yep.
But, man, we have to talk about what our next movie is after this, though.
I know.
We have hit kind of some of the major ones now.
Yes.
Dawn of the Dead, Evil Dead 2, The Thing.
Yes.
And now From Beyond.
Yep.
It's like we got some real heavy hitters. We might have to go back to like something like Poltergeist.
Man,
totally. Keep hitting those like big major ones. Exorcist, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah. You just pulled the words out of my mouth, Pete. You're pulling them out when I was trying to speak. You're like, got those.
It was my pineal gland was stimulated.
Our pineal glands were jousting.
All right, now we have to end the episode because now we have gone From Beyond.
We're going to get an R rating if we keep going.
That's right. No, we need to explain to everybody that pineal glands actually exist.
That's right.
We'll have a PowerPoint presentation attached to this clip.
Yes. It's a real thing. Okay, everybody. Well, thanks for sitting through with us, and tune in next time. We're going to do some other really great movies here.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we'll come up with some kind of like way to do this to where we're on a regular schedule, but we're still figuring that stuff out. We don't know what we're doing really.
No. Even give us some ideas in the comments.
Yes, please comment, people. Please. We'd love to talk with you. We want to know what you want to hear. Because right now the game plan is we keep talking about horror movies. Yep. And that's going to go on. I always joke with Pete, but I say, when we're at episode 350, we might consider something else. But so unless you guys tell us, and particularly if there's, like dudes talk about E.T.
Yeah.
Then we'll talk about E.T.
Right.
Or whatever.
Or Mac and Me.
Or Mac and Me. Ooh, the dichotomy.
Right. That would be a good episode.
Of the two.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. That's kind of a horror movie in itself too.
Yeah. In a great many ways it is.
Yeah.
But please tell us, if you like it, if you hate it, and if you want us to talk about something good, like Nick Cage's wonderful performance in Ghost Rider.
Oh man, I thought you were going to say Vampire's Kiss. Because,
even better.
Man, there's so many great parts in there.
Yes. Yep.
When he's just carrying the board and walking down the street with like blood coming down his throat, and he's just he's just moaning.
So good. We haven't even scratched that surface. Scratched that monkey.
Man,
we're gonna have to shock the monkey known as Nick Cage.
I mean, I'm guilty of it, man. Like I always kind of like, Nick Cage is kind of cool. I didn't have too much of an opinion, but once the internet found out about Nick Cage, I definitely jumped on that bandwagon.
Yes,
and now he's one of my favorites.
Yes.
And the Wicker Man really pushed
the Wicker Man. I mean, that is
it.
For me the penultimate. You know, because there's bees in his mouth.
Man, incredible. In no other movie will you see him dressed as a bear, running through the forest and punching a girl in the face.
Yes, right. Unless you want to watch Bad Lieutenant, where he isn't Harvey Keitel.
Man, I love that movie.
And that's all I have to say about that Bad Lieutenant.
Man,
he isn't Harvey Keitel naked in a room crying. Oh man. The problems with Hollywood.
Werner Herzog and Nick Cage, though.
Yes.
I mean, that's
yep.
It's about time those two work together.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's late.
Stick with us, but it's only like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
So thanks for sticking with us, and until next time,
stay cool.
We are the Neighborhood Watch.